This powerful statement summarizes a century of achievement, effort, challenges, and prosperity realized in the dream of a man. Accomplishment that is embodied in a network of employees, producers, and executives. A solid insurance company, both in the United States and Latin America. A compassionate company, deeply committed and loyal to its principles. Neither economic crisis, wars, nor natural disasters have been able to make it bow. On the contrary, they have strengthened its resolve. This is the story of Pan-American life and its first 100 years. At the turn of the century, New Orleans was a thriving metropolis with a robust economy of imports and exports to the Caribbean and Central America. As the largest city in the South, its economy thrived with the help of flourishing businesses. By 1911, a visionary executive by the name of Crawford Ellis was managing the prestigious United Fruit Company at the tender age of 35. About that same year, Colonel John T. Boone and Dr. Edward Simmons were pioneering insurance companies in the southern United States. They approached Ellis with an opportunity. He agreed to participate in the founding of a new insurance company based in New Orleans. Soon after, Ellis, Boone, and Simmons gradually began enlisting other prominent local figures to aid in the founding of the company, including Dr. Marion Souchon, medical director and New Orleans surgeon, and Mr. Eugene McGivney, Director General, Commissioner of Louisiana, and a recognized expert in insurance law. Together, these men established the Pan-American Life Insurance Company on March 28, 1911. They decided on the name Pan-American Life for what it conveyed, a company that would meet the insurance needs of all the Americas. The 1910s was a decade rife with crisis and confusion. Pan-American Life was established in a world shaken by World War I, the Spanish influenza pandemic, and numerous revolutions poised to reshape the world. The international and political unrest did not hinder the growth and stability of the company, due in part to the conservative and responsible strategies which have remained within the DNA of the company after a century of history. As Pan-American Life displayed its financial conservatism from its inception, the company also revealed that it was innovative and progressive. This was no more evident than during the early years of the company when women in the United States were not allowed to vote. By that time, Pan-American Life had already showed its progressiveness, incorporating valuable women to its team of strategic partners. Miss B.B. McFarlane, a supervisor of insurance sales in Louisiana, who, with an impeccable career, paved the way for future generations of women executives within the company and throughout the industry.
El anuncio fue y dice, bueno, mira, te vamos a nombrar a partir de enero gerente general. Ah, bueno, muchísimas gracias. No de las gracias, que tú te ganaste los galones y toda esa cuestión. O sea, fue un momento bonito porque entonces tú dices, vale la pena el esfuerzo, la dedicación, los sacrificios que haces. Creo que es una empresa que te sabe valorar eso.
By the early 1920s, Pan-American Life showed impressive progress. In 1923, Pan-American Life reached $100 million in life insurance, faster than any other insurer at the time. In 1926, the company launched the Revista Panamericana to keep the sales teams in Latin America informed and connected. This showed a clear sign of the strategic importance Latin America had and would continue to have in the future of Pan-American Life.
Pan-American Life has been in the Latin American market for almost 100 years now. So throughout all those years, we serve the needs of the especially Central American population. So, you know, that presence, continuous presence, and the fact that we, as we like to say it internally, we don't have dead bodies behind us. We always fulfill our commitments. And that's created for us a very good reputation. Pan-American has a very strong market presence in those countries in which we have operations today. Actually, in some of the countries, we are number 1 or 2 in the lines of business we operate.
As the company boomed throughout the Roaring '20s, the U.S. was not prepared for what was to happen next. In October of 1929, the stock market crashed and sent the nation from a glorious decade of plenty into an economic tailspin that it would not recover from until World War II. The Great Depression presented tremendous challenges. But the company ventured through the global financial turmoil and continued to expand its assets and sphere of operations. The secret to its success would be the same prevailing principles still followed nearly 100 years later. Firm steps and financial strength based on a rigorous discipline in terms of commitment to care for the assets of the insured. Pan American Life ended the decade with diversified markets in health and accident coverage, engaged in business in 19 states of the United States, and due to the increased volume of business generated outside the country, created the first departments of international business. Pan American Life would continue its remarkable and rapid growth to well above the results of the country's economy. It would continue to expand throughout the Americas. But the company's economic prosperity would be grimly overshadowed at the end of the 30s with the German invasion of Poland, triggering World War II. Nearly 100 people, including staff and producers of Pan American Life, enlisted and risked their lives to protect the ideal of peace. Despite the din of adversity, Pan American Life continued to rise above the circumstances, and in turn, the company generated profits. Ellis, at the height of World War II, described 1943 as one of the most successful years in the history of the company.
We are met here today to celebrate two important events. First, the birthday of your president, and second, the most significant of the two, the birthday of a new company, the billionaire Pan American. It is my very great pleasure and privilege to bring you and the insurance world the good news that your company has reached the mark for which we have all been striving for the past few years, $1 billion.
Amid an increasingly conflicted global political climate at the end of the 1940s and in the following decades, Pan American Life began the 1950s strengthened and in excellent financial condition. In the early 1950s, Pan American Life was already authorized to conduct business in 23 states of the United States, as well as Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Honduras, Guatemala, Cuba, El Salvador, Panama, Colombia, and Ecuador. The company had multiplied in size to more than 290 employees and over 750 producers. Pan American Life had outgrown their offices in the Whitney Bank building and set its sights to break ground on a new headquarters. Despite the illustrious beginning of the decade, the world was increasingly polarized by the Cold War, and the conflict of choosing between communism and democracy in Latin America caused immense instability in countries where Pan American Life conducted business. Cuba, Mexico, Venezuela, Colombia, and Panama were some of the nations burdened with political uprisings. By 1960, Pan American Life could no longer conduct business in Cuba, where Castro's government had nationalized insurance companies. The 1960s marked a time of significant change for Pan American Life, yet the company still managed to flourish. The decade symbolically began with the election of John F. Kennedy in 1960. He would succeed an aging Dwight D. Eisenhower as the youngest president elected to office and bring about a refreshing outlook of the possibilities of the future. In corresponding fashion, the aging founder of Pan American Life, Crawford Ellis, handed the baton to his successor, John Ruddick, age 54, just 3 days before the inauguration of President Kennedy. Hence, the founder's dream of 50 years of service had come true for Crawford Ellis. The 60s also marked events when Pan American Life gave back to the city of its birth, New Orleans. The company was instrumental in the development of large building projects such as the construction of the Young Hotel on Canal Street in 1963, financing for the expansion of the Ochsner Clinic, and the contribution of $500,000 for the construction of low-income housing. They also increased the list of renowned corporate clients who decided to place the life and health insurance needs of their employees in the caring hands of Pan American Life. In 1960, it secured one of their largest corporate clients at the time, the Coca-Cola Bottling Company. And by 1967, Pan American Life had become the insurance carrier for the coaches, staff, and personnel of the newly created New Orleans Saints that decades later would win the Super Bowl. During this time, Pan American Life continued to cultivate its presence in Latin America by renewing its strategies and strengthening its ties with strategic producers, many of which endured to this day.
Si tuviera que volver a trabajar desde cuando comencé con Pan American Life, volvería a hacerlo con gran gusto, sobre todo que tendría ya la experiencia de haberlo vivido y la satisfacción de haber podido cumplir y que me hubieran cumplido igualmente. Es una relación de mutua satisfacción.
Porque creo enormemente en Pan American. Sé que jamás ha faltado un solo compromiso.
The mid-1960s also ushered in one of the most legendary leaders in Pan American Life's history, Louisiana attorney Frank Purvis. Purvis was the company's first president born and raised in Louisiana, who in 1964 succeeded John Ruddock. He was a man deeply rooted in the community with vast experience and the perceptiveness to embrace the challenges of the tumultuous 60s.
I think I used to tell people, and I still do, that if you come to work for Pan American, it's not like going to work for the ABC Life Insurance Company. We've got another window in the world. We've got the opportunity to deal with the people in all the countries in which we do business.
Despite the turbulent issues of civil rights, the Vietnam War, the counterculture movement, and the space race, the 60s represented a decade of continued growth for Pan American Life. The company increased in size to well over 400 employees in the United States alone. To maintain its feeling of a small company, employees launched Pal Amigos. It was a creative name that used the initials of the company and was designed by one of their very own, Huey Weber. Pal Amigos' mission was to create a recreational employee organization that would sponsor sports teams and civic activities. The highlight of such activities was the annual Christmas dance at which Miss Pal Amigos would be selected to reign the following year, resembling New Orleans' regal behavior of Mardi Gras kings and queens. By 1970, Pan American Life had achieved a strong presence in the United States, operating in 31 states, Puerto Rico, and the District of Columbia, and in 13 Latin American jurisdictions. With increased operations in Latin America, Pan American Life created the International Operations Division in 1972. In 1974, Purvis turned over the presidency to Wallace B. Schmitz and remained as chairman of the board and chief executive officer. During this decade, Pan American Life was selected as the administrator for Louisiana for the newly created Medicare program by the U.S. government. With the increased need for space due to hiring influx from Medicare operations, the company decided to leave behind its home of 20 years on Canal Street and begin construction on a new headquarters. However, these plans would be postponed with the emergence of the oil and energy crisis of the 70s, causing historic inflation rates. By 1977, Pan American Life had profits and income growth exceeding inflation. And with a bright future ahead, Purvis recommitted to the construction of the new home office by dedicating $50 million to the project. The 1970s would end with the company's diversification to maintain market stability and competitiveness. Pan American Life had become a global conglomerate. Pan American Life entered the 80s with a solid corporate structure, great financial strength, and a new home office. Business flourished throughout the decade. With the landscape of the insurance industry changing, Pan American Life adapted and expanded to market universal life insurance. They also created new subsidiaries and divisions for health insurance, created a sales division that would market to Hispanics in the U.S., and created the division of pension operations. While the 1980s would become one of the most financially successful decades in the company's existence, the 1990s would be a decade of adjustments and repositioning of business strategies that Pan American Life had managed to diversify in the previous decades. A national financial crisis would kick off the decade, leading to the failure of many investment companies. Because Pan American Life had no high-risk bonds or real estate investments, they did not experience the consequences from the industry failures so prevalent in the early 90s.
The company has always been very careful in how to invest the monies of the policy owners. They were very careful also to be able to meet all of the obligations. So because of that, the company has always been very conservative in the way it has managed the assets. So I believe that is the main reason why we have survived all of these bad times.
By 1993, Panamerican Life had generated record earnings. However, changes in insurance policy, especially within the healthcare sector, began to erode the company's pristine record and financial strength. This led to a steep decline in life and health insurance premiums by the end of the decade. With a massive shift in the composition of the company's business, Panamerican Life had reached a crossroads, and the uncertainty led to the need for corporate restructuring, with a definite objective of restoring the financial vitality that the company had always enjoyed. In 1999, Jan Job became president of Panamerican Life and attempted to recast the company's image with an energetic and progressive concept of Panamerican Life in the 21st century. While progress was made at the close of the 20th century, the company would encounter several more changes and challenges under their new president. Attempts were made to implement new business concepts and shift away from life insurance, concentrating instead on the small to medium-sized pension market in the U.S. The shift proved successful, but as the 401k market became more competitive in the early 2000s, sales began to slow while company expenses increased. Although Panamerican Life felt that some progress had been made, they were losing the essence of what made the company so great: its conservative values, its focus, and its Latin American heritage. In an effort to reduce expenses and monetary losses, the company engaged in staff reductions and sold both its health and pensions divisions. These attempts did little to ease the strain on Panamerican Life's business in the U.S. By 2003, the board of directors decided to seek a new direction. John Kelly assumed the helm as president until a replacement could be found. Kelly, who'd served on the board for over a decade, was a former NASA engineer who worked on the first project to send a man to the moon. His most challenging job now was to find a modern and visionary leader to refocus and revitalize Panamerican Life.
So we really needed to bring the operational and the marketing side, sales side, back to what it needed to be. And so my thought was, when you do that, you go out and you find the best people you can. And we were able to locate Jose Suquet, who was recognized through the industry as being an extraordinary man, great accomplishment, and have Jose come down, and that set the standard, and then Carlos Micon and others. And so we brought a new management team in, and we made great strengthening actions with the board. And so today you see a Pan American that recovered from a loss year in '03, after which really the board took over in '04 until Jose had his team, and Jose just set the pace. And it's now a very strong company with a great future.
In November 2004, Cuban-born Jose Suquet assumes the role of president and CEO of Panamerican Life, and by 2008, he became chairman of the board. Suquet had become the first Hispanic to lead the company, and his hands lay the course of Panamerican Life. In August 2005, Hurricane Katrina devastated much of New Orleans, and for the first time forced the company to temporarily leave its hometown. The morale of the employees and their families were hard hit, but the motivational force of Panamerican Life's leaders, supported by an effective disaster contingency plan, compelled the company to persevere. Panamerican Life operated its business for both the U.S. and Latin America, from designated satellite offices in Texas and Baton Rouge, until they were able to return to their home office in New Orleans. The contingency plan worked and became a model to follow in the industry. In 2008, the world experienced one of the worst financial crises since the Great Depression. The collapse of the housing market, along with the failure of several large financial institutions in late 2007, triggered the global financial crisis that staggered some of the most emblematic companies of the insurance industry. Pan American Life was not one of them.
Pan American has always been, in my mind, a great company. It has had terrific leadership. It's got almost 100 years of background in South and Central America, primarily. And it's just grown, in my mind, it's grown more in the last 4 or 5 years than it has ever in its history. And I think the company is very professionally run, and I am very enthusiastic about the leadership and the direction and the things that are going on. And I feel very, very comfortable in the direction that Pan American is going.
We have gone through one of the worst economic recessions in the last 50 years. And even going through all that, the company has continued to grow and become stronger over time. So if we can do that, survive and thrive at the same time and continue to grow, for us, basically the sky is the limit. There's so much more that we can do.
Under the leadership of Suquet, the company refocuses and returns to its roots. It is redefined as the Company of the Americas. By 2010, Pan American Life once again achieves market recognition for its financial strength with an A rating. The Great Recession, that virtually no country in the world has been able to elude, gives way to the dawn of a centennial celebration for Pan American Life. Perhaps it serves as a reminder to new generations of leaders not to overlook the history of a respected company, for in it lies its core conservative values, its ties to its Latin American heritage, and its commitment to its customers, its producers, and to its employees. These are the people who have made Pan American Life and Ellis Crawford's dream of reaching a century of promises kept.
We will not deviate from our strategy of serving Hispanics in the Americas, and to have a sense that Hispanics look at Pan American as the company to provide for their financial security and protection and sense of well-being. We have a slogan that says, "A century of promises kept," and my commitment is to make sure that we continue that tradition of keeping our promises built on a foundation of solid, superior financial strength, great people representing our company, and a superior product and service line representing our customers. I want to thank all of our agents, our employees, and our customers for sticking it out and having the faith in the strength of Pan American and the faith in the vision of the company to get us to where we are today. We have climbed mountains. We have gone through numerous upheavals in society, in governmental structure, in our region, and our agents and our employees and our customers have stayed with us. And for that, I thank you. And I also want to say that you haven't seen anything yet. The best in the history of Pan American is still ahead of us.
This celebration is for the hundreds of thousands of customers, producers, and employees who have said with pride for over 100 years, "I am Pan American Life."
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am. I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am Pan American Life.